Oliver the Persian cat was a fluffy cloud of white fur. His fur was so soft and luxurious that it felt like touching a piece of heaven. He was the epitome of feline elegance, always looking pristine and well-groomed. He had big round eyes that sparkled with mischief. Oliver loved to play. His eyes were like two gleaming marbles, always full of curiosity and wonder. Whether it was a simple string or a sophisticated cat toy, Oliver found joy in everything. He was a master of chaos. No shelf was safe, no vase secure. Oliver had a knack for finding the most precarious objects and sending them tumbling to the floor. His antics were legendary in the household. His meow sounded like a tiny, squeaky toy. It was a sound that could melt hearts and bring smiles to faces. His meow was his secret weapon, a tool he used to get out of trouble and into the hearts of everyone around him. "Meow, hey," he'd chirp, batting at a stray sunbeam. The sunbeam was his favorite playmate, always elusive, yet always there. Oliver could spend hours chasing the light, his paws dancing in the air. Everyone agreed. Oliver was hilarious. His antics were the highlight of the day, bringing laughter and joy to everyone who watched him. He had a way of making even the grumpiest person smile. Oliver lived in a cozy house with a big backyard. The house was his kingdom and the backyard his playground. He had plenty of space to explore and plenty of nooks and crannies to hide in. One sunny afternoon, Oliver felt a familiar tickle of mischief. It was a feeling he knew well, a call to adventure that he could never resist. The sun was shining and the world was full of possibilities. He decided it was time for an adventure. With a flick of his tail and a gleam in his eye, Oliver set off to explore the great unknown. The backyard was his first stop, a world full of wonders waiting to be discovered. "Meow-ha-ha!" he squeaked, his tail swishing with anticipation. The thrill of the adventure coursed through him, making his heart race. Oliver was ready for whatever the day had in store for him. Oliver padded into the living room, his fluffy white fur gleaming under the soft light. His whiskers twitched with curiosity as he surveyed the scene. His human Emily was knitting, her fingers deftly working the needles. She was completely absorbed in her craft, unaware of the mischief brewing. A colourful ball of yarn rolled on the floor, catching Oliver's eye. It was a vibrant mix of reds, blues and yellows, almost too tempting to resist. "Meow-wee!" Oliver cried, his eyes wide with delight. This was perfect. His heart raced with excitement as he imagined the fun he was about to have. He crouched low, wiggling his fluffy butt. Then he pounced. His paws landed on the yarn and it started to unravel. The yarn unraveled as Oliver chased it, his paws moving swiftly. He darted around the room, the yarn trailing behind him like a colourful comet. He zoomed from the sofa to the coffee table, leaving a trail of yarn in his wake. The living room was quickly becoming a tangled mess of colours. "Meow-hoo!" he yowled, tangled in a rainbow of yarn. Emily laughed, her knitting forgotten as she watched Oliver's antics. "Oh, Oliver," she chuckled, scooping him up. She held him close, still giggling at the sight of her mischievous cat wrapped in yarn. Oliver purred contentedly, happy to be in her arms. Later that day, Oliver explored the backyard. He spotted a feather duster swaying on the porch. "Meow-wow!" he exclaimed, his whiskers twitching. This looked fun. He stalked towards the feather duster, his tail twitching with excitement. He leapt, grabbing the feather duster with his paws. Feathers flew everywhere. Oliver rolled in the fluffy chaos, batting at the feathers with glee. "Meow-ha!" he shrieked, covered in feathers. He looked like a fluffy white bird. Emily laughed, snapping pictures of her silly cat. Back inside, Oliver's tummy rumbled. He had been waiting all day for his favourite treat. The anticipation was almost too much to bear. His eyes darted around the room, searching for any sign of the delicious meal he craved. "Meow-me," he whined, rubbing against Emily's legs. His soft fur brushed against her, and he looked up with pleading eyes. He knew that Emily couldn't resist his charm. Emily chuckled and opened a can of tuna. The sound of the can opener was music to Oliver's ears. He could hardly contain his excitement as he watched her every move. The delicious smell filled the air. It was intoxicating, and Oliver's senses were overwhelmed. He could almost taste the tuna already. "Meow, yum!" Oliver drooled, his mouth watering. He could hardly wait to sink his teeth into the tender fish. His tail flicked back and forth in anticipation. But as Emily turned to grab a fork, Oliver saw his chance. His eyes locked onto the can, and he knew this was his moment. He swiped at the can with his paw, sending it flying. The can tumbled through the air, and Oliver's heart raced with excitement. The tuna landed with a plop. The sound echoed in the room, and Oliver's eyes widened with glee. Oliver gobbled it up in seconds. He devoured the tuna with such speed that it was almost a blur. His hunger was finally satisfied. "Meow! Oops!" he burped, licking his lips. He felt a sense of contentment wash over him. The tuna had been everything he had hoped for and more. Emily shook her head, a smile on her face. She couldn't help but laugh at Oliver's antics. He was a mischievous cat, but she loved him all the same. As the sun set, Oliver curled up on the sofa. He was exhausted from his adventures. He let out a contented purr. "Meow, sleepy," he sighed, closing his eyes. Despite his mischievous nature, Oliver knew how to relax. Emily smiled, gently stroking his fur. A single feather from the feather duster still clung to his head. It was a reminder of Oliver's hilarious day. Even in sleep, Oliver brought laughter and joy. He was one mischievous, charming cat.